Yeah, this is the funny. Yeah, this is correct. Soccer fans beating each other up. What has happened to Europe? like, it's my assessment. When I first heard about it, I was like, wow, I'm shocked to find out that soccer fans are fighting. It's a bit more than this. Yeah, it is. But in many ways, it's also not. This story has no juice. It happens every week in Europe. Yeah, but there is definitely you seem hesitant to discard any claims of anti-Semitic hate fueling this attack when we all know very well what well how Israelis are. No, it's not even like how Israelis are, dude. And also, when you say stuff like this, people will absolutely use this against you and against me as well. Like this is first and foremost primarily football fans. Okay, that's the first layer of complexity. All right. Anyway, here. All right. You know what? Let's talk about it. I got 30 minutes before Osita comes on, and we'll do it. Maccabi Tel Aviv hooligans chant racist anti-Arab slogans ahead of match in Amsterdam. Let the Israeli army win the Arabs.
This morning, Israel says.
And then every other outlet, of course, in the Western world, I think, didn't necessarily cover that aspect of it at all, like, or what events that triggered this back and forth clash, and instead specifically said that this was a racially charged anti-Semitic pogrom that was conducted. Violent attacks in Amsterdam tied to anti-Semitism from the New York Times. Reporting on the racist Maccabi Tel Aviv fans is exactly what you expect. The New York Times just basically published an Israeli press release not mentioning once that the Israeli mob was chanting about killing Arabs and mocking slaughtered Palestinian children. I think originally the way that this story unfolds is that there is a match between Ajax Amsterdam and Maccabi Tel Aviv. At the beginning of the match, there's a 1 minute silence observed for those who died in the floods in Spain. The Israeli hooligans refused to pay respect and tried to break the silence by behaving shamefully and inappropriately. Is like what Ajax. Okay, sorry. And then the chants that you heard were repeated all around. It bugged me that I couldn't find the video of the entire genocidal song, but then came Maccabi Tel Aviv fans. They arrived at Ben Gurion Airport fleeing from the fake pogrom and started singing the entire song. Yeah, one of the lines is, "Why is school out in Gaza? There are no children left there." The song that they're singing, full lyrics of the MTA fans song from Maccabi fans website. Second verse is, "Why is there no school today in Gaza?" Okay. There are no children left there. The site as the song is used specifically in games versus Palestinian team B'nai Sakin, or depending on the security situation. The Judeo ultra fans of Maccabi Tel Aviv march around Amsterdam singing, "Let the IDF win, the Arabs." The police seem to be cool with it. I can confirm they had like 50 people working to change up the entire article. Top level editors made them move up paragraphs that were buried about them tearing down Palestine flags. I think this was total oversight and pushing out a story too quick. Yeah. So the ole, 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 like that's a very common chant. It's a very, very common chant in soccer. It's international. Everyone has their own version of it. It seems like the Israeli Maccabi one is, insanely racist. So how do we get here? Was this just like unrestricted anti-Semitism overflowing filled to the fucking brim. In order to continue framing the anti-racist counterattacks on the Israeli football fans as anti-Semitic, any news organization will have to explicitly ignore or spin the video evidence that clearly shows that they were racist and a violent mob. Video has emerged of the crowd swearing and chanting anti-Arab slogans in Amsterdam amid a violent incident in which Israeli football fans were targeted, including but not limited to tearing down Palestinian flags. Which is exactly what the New York Times did in its first reporting of the incident early this morning. Slogans versus slurs. This was an interesting point from the Reuters. Videos on social media showed riot police intervening in clashes with some attackers shouting anti-Israeli slurs. But some footage also showed Israeli supporters chanting anti-Arab slogans before Thursday's evening match. So if you're saying something anti-Israeli, that's a slur. If you're saying something that's anti-Arab, that's a slogan. The anti-Israeli slur is, of course, Zionist. The anti-Arab slogan is, calling them barbaric monsters. But that's besides the point, One is clearly significantly more important than the other, it seems. Okay? Now, let's take a look at what TRT reported on in the dark side of Maccabi Tel Aviv Championship League match. But overall, the point is they ripped down Palestinian flags. They were chanting anti-Palestinian, anti-Arab, being incredibly racist, as, for the record, most football fans are. Okay? Just so you understand. Just so you understand. This is not exclusive to the Israeli football fandom. Okay? If you think that this is exclusive to the Israeli football fandom, you got to understand it's not. Okay? Like Italian flags will throw bananas at their own black players. All right? Ultras across the board, hooligans across the board make up a massive amount of paramilitaries even. Azov Battalion, which originally started as a brigade, is comprised originally almost entirely of football fans from Ukraine that were themselves, okay? A lot, like football hooligans across the board have incredibly bad politics with some exceptions, right? You'll see like some Irish or some Scottish ultras that are like Marxist Leninists or whatever, but like usually it's very commonplace. Here it is. Football sounds over Argentina's racist chanting is deafening and damning. You got SS Lazio in Italy, okay? And also they love to fight. They love to get drunk. They love to get belligerent. They love to get racist. And then they love to fight. So, yeah, Lazio, also known as This guy says, I went to Amsterdam recently and left in one piece because I respected the locals and I didn't chant about killing children. Then this guy responds, locals. Local in Amsterdam means tourists. Dutch people are like 5% of the people you encounter. Those damn Jews deserve it, says Stop Jew Hate. If I would have went around shouting about killing people's kids, I would have gotten smacked and I deserved it. Make of that what you will. Years ago, Croatian team's fans were banned from attending games for a while due to the grass on the pitch having a swastika being cut into it. So just normal football fans things. Oh yeah, it's just how it works. So, seems to me like it's a bunch of rowdy, incredibly racist fans of footy behaving in the way that they normally do. Now, of course, it's unacceptable. And at first I thought this was like, again, somewhat of an anti-Semitic canard when people were like, dude, Mossad was with those guys. When someone in my chat said Mossad was amongst them, I was like, shut the up. Come on, dude. And then it turns out it's true. Just in case, Mossad agents joined Maccabi Tel Aviv football club trip to Amsterdam from the Jerusalem Post. In the first year of the revamped format, the yellow and blue currently sit in 34th place out of 36 teams in the Europa League with 3 losses from 3 games. I don't think most hooligans laughing about children. No, what? They absolutely would. What are you talking about? Hello? Don't act like, do not act like these guys, the fans of like Maccabi Tel Aviv football club are uniquely racist. The only difference in this circumstance is that like they are upholding like current existing. Okay. But no, this is every guys, I'm Turkish. I think maybe that's the reason. Like I'm speaking to Americans right now and I don't think they understand. Like they think, oh, like the Bills Mafia. Like, no, this is like, we're talking about direct links to organized crime, direct links to like fascist, real existing fascist movements. We're talking about people who are straight the up like brown shirt paramilitaries that operate within that framework and will genuinely dish out violence, okay? Racialized violence. So the idea that this is like simply a, football hooligans don't operate like this is ridiculous. I tried to explain to you, Italian fans of their own club will throw bananas at black players, okay? Like, this is not unique, which is why it's kind of funny that people are like losing their minds over it. But yeah, an Israeli politician has more accurate analysis of what happened in Amsterdam than most of the Western media. The spirit of Israeli fascism has reached Amsterdam. Fans go on a violent rampage, beating, tearing up, my goat, Dr. Ofer Kasif again, beating, tearing up Palestinian flags in the streets as if they were an occupying force and shouting slogans in favor of the extermination of a nation and whining when the situation degenerates into complete chaos and violence returns to them like a boomerang. Any violence is obscene and unacceptable. Both sides should be held accountable for their hooliganism, and the Israeli media, as usual, approaches, hides, and distorts reality in the service of the authorities. And it's not just the Israeli media that's doing that. It is, of course, the damn near entirety of Western media seemingly doing that as well. I like that this is also very, very cool. The Dutch Moroccans, not Ajax fans who attacked them. Yeah, dude, it's those disgusting, like not real Dutch Moroccans, right? Thanks, Chatter. Thanks, Chatter, for the insight. Yeah. Come on, dog. Ajax, my bad. They rolled into town with Mossad agents, started and is now a pogrom because they lost the traditional Euro-style soccer fight. No, I'm not reading the article. The article's open. How do you get rolled up with operators watching your back? I feel like if an English soccer team had SAS backup, they'd at least be able to fight anyone else to a draw. The entire bogus recounting of what happened must be a wannabe. Getting a real groom on my. Okay. Anyway, Owen Jones apparently had really good coverage on it, and we can look at that, or we can look at like hooliganism in Israel. Beitar Jerusalem fans, here we are. We're the most racist football team in the country. The Dutch King compared it to the Holocaust. Oh my God. Dutch King, we failed the Jewish community during World War II last night. We failed them again. I'm done, dude. I'm so done. Does anyone have Naftali Bennett tweeting this too was organized? It must have been planned by Iran. That's fantastic. Okay. Does anyone have the Owen Jones coverage of this? Just send me the Owen Jones coverage. Don't show this, bro. There are Celtics fans in here. You don't want them getting a hold of this. Oh, I forgot. You're right. Celtics fans are about to look at this and become so much more racist. Anyway, here's Ayala Kobe. Breaking. Middle Eastern migrants continue to hunt down Jews in the streets of Amsterdam. I love that, like, everyone that is in defense of Israel will just immediately be so insanely Islamophobic. Like, there's no way of interpreting the situation with, like, football hooligans clash or anything. It's like, these barbaric Middle Eastern migrants. Ah! It's like, dude, you're a the way you talk about people. Holy shit. God damn, dude. You are such a ginormous, monstrous pieces of. Why are they always like this? Why? Why is every supporter of Israel immediately like, let me analyze the situation with like a breath, with like, you know, after taking a couple breaths, okay? Where are the police? Where is Europe? Europe has fallen. Anyway, here's the person. I'm the creator of this video. 1, you're spreading fake news. This is a group of Maccabee supporters starting a fight and beating one Dutch man. 2, delete this content. I didn't give you permission. AFD's Beatrix von Storch thanks the Greens for not adopting the AFD's position on imported Muslim anti-Semitism and the new anti-Semitism resolution to be passed on AFD support. Her granddad was a final head of the Third Reich. Oh, that's incredible. Oh, she is like a current existing with direct ties to, you know, the OG movement, talking about how Muslims imported anti-Semitism to Germany.
And Western politicians are lying to you. Well, police are challenged, you might think, but this is a very specific case study, and it is deeply illustrative and deeply alarming. Yesterday, racist Israeli football thugs rioted in Amsterdam while publicly inciting a criminal act under the 1948 Convention. This is the proximate cause of the violence. Now, to be clear, I'm not a vigilante sort of guy, and I'm not going to pretend to know exactly what happened in Amsterdam. I wasn't there, I'm not on the ground, and nor would I ever justify violence against anyone unless in self-defense. These are important caveats. I'll always stick to the truth and always be morally consistent. What matters is you can say all that without erasing what we know happened in Amsterdam, because we can all see and hear for ourselves. Now, the narrative being pushed is that there was a pogrom against Jewish people in Amsterdam yesterday. A exceptionally serious claim. One of the most serious things you could possibly say. Now, the King of Netherlands declares that we failed the Jewish community as the country did during World War II. And to be clear, the Netherlands suffered the worst impact of occupation of any Western European nation, with 3/4 of its pre-war Jewish population exterminated by the Nazis. It is absolutely obscene to compare what happened to Amsterdam to that.
A pogrom, for those of you who don't know, is a mass lynching, historically usually against Jewish people that have faced like a tremendous number of different pogroms, but it's not like, it's oftentimes not directed by the state, but just like a, yeah, it's usually not directed by the state. It's but the state will like turn a blind eye to it, right? It's more so like people on the ground just through racist through racial animus engaging in like this insane spontaneous lynch mob. And obviously this, especially when talking about like Jewish people throughout Jewish history, Jews have faced a tremendous number of different horrific pogroms by people basically saying like, you know, you're stealing our babies or whatever, the like blood libel. Yeah, it is not directed by the state, but it's sanctioned and tolerated by the state usually. Now, the reason why it's a significant thing to say, a significant, like a very important word to use in this circumstance, is because they are trying to take football hooligans fighting one another and deliberately turn it into a sequence of racialized violence that is born out of anti-Semitism. You know, they are, and specifically like the Dutch king was invoking the Holocaust, for the record. So let's watch.
Abomination. Now, the headlines across the media simply portray the Maccabi Tel Aviv fans as victims. Israeli soccer fans attacked in Amsterdam, authorities say, is a typical such headline. Ursula von der Leyen, the president of the EU Commission, says, outraged by last night's vile attacks targeting Israeli citizens in Amsterdam. I just spoke with the Dutch Prime Minister. I strongly condemn these unacceptable acts. Anti-Semitism has absolutely no place in Europe, and we are determined to fight all forms of hatred. She has shown more outrage here, I would note, than she has for the mass murder of tens of thousands of Palestinians by the Israeli state. And she says all forms of hatred, but there was very specific forms of hatred being expressed on the streets of Amsterdam, we'll come on to, which she clearly did not condemn. Now, this is Naftali Bennett. He's the former Israeli Prime Minister.
At this very moment in Amsterdam, Jews are being attacked at multiple locations with brutal force. It's a pogrom in action. I call upon the Dutch authorities, the Amsterdam authorities, to act immediately to prevent further injury and to prevent the loss of lives.
Now, before I put that in context, this is Sky News talking about Kristallnacht, the murderous pogrom of Jews across Germany in 1938.
Some of those people who perhaps live in Amsterdam, those Jewish people there, were remembering Kristallnacht, which was a pogrom that happened before World War II, where Jews were targeted, of course. You can understand how upset, how angry, how afraid they are that this happened in their own country in modern times.
Now, as the Israeli analyst Meirei Zonstein puts it, comparing what is happening in Amsterdam to the Holocaust or to pogroms in Russia is absurd, offensive, and a cynical weaponization of anti-Semitism that undermines Jewish safety everywhere, all things that will become further normalized in a second Trump-Netanyahu period. The Israeli leftist politician Ofer Kasif, a lone courageous voice amongst Jewish Israeli politicians in the Knesset, the Israeli parliament, offers far more accurate coverage than the vast majority of the Western media, saying the spirit of Israeli fascism reached Amsterdam. Fans go on a violent rampage, beating, tearing up Palestinian flags in the streets as if they were an occupying force and shouting slogans in favour of the extermination of a nation, and whining when the situation degenerates into complete chaos and violence returns to them like a boomerang. Any violence is obscene and unacceptable. Both sides should be held accountable for the hooliganism, and the Israeli media, as usual, approaches highs and distorts reality in the service of the authorities. Well, not just the Israeli media, to be very clear. What actually happened? These racist Israeli football hooligans went on the rampage. Firstly, at the stadium, they jeered through a minute's silence for victims of Spain's floods because Spain has recognised the Palestinian state and spoken in support of arms embargo. Do you know what they were chanting there? There's no schools in Gaza because we killed all the kids. What do you even say? What do you even say at this point? This attempt to turn the world on its head and reality upside down, this just simply cannot carry on. This gaslighting. They tore down Palestinian flags in Amsterdam.
Damn, dog. That's crazy. Out here always, dude, you can't do that. Like, I mean, this is not unique to like Israeli fandom, but like you just can't you can't just like operate like this. You know what I mean? You can't be like, yeah, no, I see a Palestinian flag, it's mine now. Okay? Like, you're not in Tel Aviv, dog. You are not in the West Bank. Okay? There is no IDF to come and pack up everybody that like you're pissing off and actively targeting. Like, you can't go to you can't go to someone else's country and just pull this thinking that the IDF is coming. You know, the IOF is going to be there to defend you.
They chanted death to the Arabs and let the IDF the Arabs, which is incitement to, and a grave criminal offence in all countries which have ratified the 1948 Convention, which of course includes the Netherlands and, I might add, Israel. It gets worse. The BBC headline was Israeli football fans attacked in Amsterdam, officials say, with a clip of this purported attack. Indeed, you can see this clip for yourself. It does indeed look disturbing.
Turns out it's actually Israeli fans beating the shit out of a random Dutch guy.
Just a minor issue here. A Dutch photographer responded to someone sharing this clip with the following: "I'm the creator of this video. You're spreading fake news. This is a group of Maccabi supporters starting a fight and beating one Dutchman. Delete this content. I didn't give you permission." I mean, that just sums it up, doesn't it? That just sums it up. The attempt to turn reality on its head. Literally sharing a video of Maccabi fans attacking a Dutchman and then portraying it as though it's Maccabi fans, Israeli fans, football hooligans being attacked. And as dire as the vast majority of the coverage has been, even Sky News posted this.
The thing I don't understand is like, do people not realize, like, am I crazy? Like, there is already underlying, pre-existing, unexamined anti-Semitism in many of these Western nations. Okay? So many of these countries already have this attitude where they are already like kind of anti-Semitic, right? So when Israel is like going on defense mode after seeking their football hooligans on foreign soil, and then crying foul after they got their ass beat to be like, this is an anti-Semitic pogrom, you're literally just, making people more anti-Semitic. They'll be like, okay, what the like, I don't think this has the intended effect. I'm sure some people will look at it, especially Islamophobic people, will be like, oh, this is, a bunch of monstrous Arab pieces of shit doing what they do best, which is like, hate Jews. But overall, I think there's probably a much larger group of people that are like, one, not even anti-Semitically, but like straightforwardly seeing this for what it is and going, oh, this sucks. Shut the up. Because it's also annoying. Like there is a level of arrogance and a sense of entitlement that comes across with like a lot of these smear campaigns in general, where you're like, no, this is not like football hooligans duking it out and getting their ass beat. Okay. This is different. This is an anti-Semitic pogrom, and people are like, come on, dog. What the are you talking about? Like, for as many people as you convert into legitimately believing that this is like a specifically targeted anti-Semitic operation, I feel like there are a ton more who look at this and they're like, yeah, this is undermining the overarching goals that you might have. There's a picture of Maccabi football hooligans throwing mayo at a man who tried to flee from Dam Square, Amsterdam, because he shows support for Palestine. Dam Square is the national monument that remembers the deaths fallen in World War II. This happened on Thursday afternoon. You overestimate people's critical thinking skills. I can't wait until Bill Maher spreads this misinformation. Yeah. I think it's so shameless. Like, it is so gross and so shameless the way that people who want to defend Israel's utterly unconscionable, immoral actions will just so cynically, consistently say that this is anti-Semitic, and even look at a situation like this one where even if there are like very obvious, like commonly held, examples of back and forth violence, you got being like, oh, this is a pogrom. This is a pogrom. This is an anti-Jewish pogrom. Darzex, our Israeli chatter, says, ironically, this might be part of the Zionist trap. The more Israel makes the world anti-Semitic. No, it is, by the way. That is what it is. The more Israel makes the world anti-Semitic, the more promise of an exclusive shelter is endearing to said Jews who fear pogroms and violence. I've talked about this before, where there's a reason why people like Benjamin Netanyahu are so closely associated with like fascist movements, some of which are openly, deeply anti-Semitic, like Viktor Orban, right? Because it works in his favor. Benjamin Netanyahu wants all the Jews all around the world to feel less safe, so they off and go to goddamn Israel. Why the would you do that? Why would you do that? Why? Like, if you are, the greatest threat to Israel's safety is not Hamas, it's not Hezbollah, and it's not the Ayatollah, okay? The greatest threat to Israel's safety is Boca Raton. It's Sherman Oaks. It's Brooklyn. Because as long as Boca Raton and Brooklyn and Sherman Oaks exists, okay, why the would anybody be like, yeah, I'm off and leaving and living in a goddamn settlement, okay? That's it. Nobody wants techno music blasting every goddamn day of the fucking week. Okay? They don't want to hear psytrance when they're going to eat whatever the fuck they're eating for breakfast. The thing is, there's not many to blame alive right now. Zionism has outlived most of its creators and has become a self-sustaining parasite at this point. Besides a few politicians, it's deeply ingrained in our society. No, I know. And it's like deliberately ingrained in American Zionism as well. Zionism is deeply ingrained in the social conditioning of American Jews as well, especially with like we watched the Israelism documentary, and one thing that came out of that, I wanted people to see it because it was very instructive of like how Zionism has almost become like a different version of, like, it's become like a religion almost in and of itself. So like, even if you're a Reformed Jew and you're not necessarily like all too interested in anything outside of like Yom Kippur or whatever, like Israel is the cultural signifier that you associate your identity with, and it's deeply ingrained from an early age. Yeah, it's like a civic religion, exactly. It's just, I hear you say it makes you mad, and it's the same for me, but there's really not much we can do about it. Everything is anti-Semitic crowd. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, dude, they've been saying I'm anti-Semitic again because he says Hasan Piker learns about the ongoing pogroms against Jews in Amsterdam while live streaming on Twitch. He gives all of 20 seconds of consideration, even saying it's kind of funny. He then goes on to cover something else. Pay attention to the chat. Base, so base, too base. All this in response to organized armed violence against Jews on the streets of Amsterdam. This is the biggest progressive streamer on Amazon's Twitch. More than 300,000 people watched this live coverage the other day. You know what's really funny about this? They clipped it out of context. I literally, like, he clipped 52 seconds of this where I'm like talking about something different. Someone sends me a link. I don't know what the it is. I openly say, I don't know what this is about. And then move back to my normal coverage of the Israeli UN guy forcibly removing children's drawings from the United Nations. Okay. The problem is the lie goes much further than the truth. Okay. Look, the OG video is me, artwork by Gaza school children after. Oh, this is the same one. After complaint. What? The Maccabi Tel Aviv hooligans are getting attacked right now in the Netherlands after ignoring the minute of silence for Valencia victims and singing racist chants about the extermination of Arabs. Dutch Moroccans are making them aware that this isn't...
It's for the children! For the children!
What the f... What is happening? They were like, see, his chat is saying based. And it's funny because chat is still responding to the earlier thing I was covering, saying disgusting, sag. Okay, bro, what the f, man? And I'm reading them talking about, like, you know, how evil it is that Israel is, like, getting children's drawings taken away. Okay? So the clip that they've tried to present this as doesn't show the reality that they want to show. Is this ceased to be funny and now I'm in a bad mood? I mean, it's still kind of funny. That it's, and this is me responding to the children's drawing story. Like, well, not this. I don't know what the fuck is happening. They do this all the time in the Western world, all around EU and the US. And then I obviously go back to the Guardian article that I was covering. Artwork by Gaza. And they still, bro, the screenshots of the chat don't even show the emotes. How the fuck is anyone supposed to interpret his chat through without the context of what emotes mean? People are typing sludge, but the screenshots show sludge in text. Like, what the f? My family member sent the tweet/clip to me, by the way. Yeah. Now, if this was like already an indefensible thing, like if this was truly a pogrom, right? Then obviously it looks bad that these guys are so clearly trying to be like, look at Hasan making light of this like horrifying violence, even though like I clearly wasn't, because I don't know what the is going on. I openly communicate that. Okay. But it's also additionally ridiculous because it wasn't a pogrom anyway. Dumb. But yeah, once again, I'm so close to doing tactical fat phobia. Here, spam the context of this, because obviously the context of this story does not get the same level of emotion as the goddamn fake. Okay, there it is. There's a complete lie. Hasan was talking about how it's funny that people were complaining about artwork done by Gazan children at a hospital. Literally 2 seconds after you cut the clip, he says, "Not this. I don't know what's happening here." Amsterdam has a very deep connection to Judaism and a big Jewish community that has had problems with anti-Semitism, but they don't get the news that is provoked by the Tel Aviv hooligans. It's an easy story to spin around. Yeah, but it's just like so gross. It's so gross for a couple different reasons. One, because like we do live in a post-truth world where like narrative is significantly more important than the truth. And especially on Twitter, you could just like lie, right? You could just straight up lie, and people are too dumb. They don't really like think about it at all. Like you can show a video of me eating chicken and title it, "Hasan is saying in this video that he hates Jews," and people will literally believe it. Like they'll promote it because it is, you know, they don't give a shit. Most people just don't care. Nobody cares. And it's nuts. Anyway, let's finish the story while I hit up Asita. This is why I didn't want to get into
the
it.
BBC coverage, its live feed is the following. The BBC has spoken to a fan who went to the match last night, who reports seeing Maccabi Tel Aviv supporters on the Amsterdam metro going up and down the carriages 3 or 4 times looking for a fight. Connor says everyone was going into the city, so everyone knew what was going to happen. He adds he's shocked by the betrayal of the incident in the media, adding that the attacks were completely provoked and Palestinian flags were torn down the night before. It then adds in italics as a disclaimer below it, though. As a reminder, authorities in the Netherlands have condemned anti-Semitic attacks on Israeli fans, with Amsterdam's mayor reporting Israeli supporters were actively sought out for violence across the city. Look, anti-Semitism is real. It's a danger. It's rising. It has to be confronted. The constant attempt to dilute its meaning is beyond irresponsible. If Russian football hooligans had chanted their way through a minute's silence for the dead victims of a country which had taken some sort of stance against the invasion of Ukraine by chanting in support of the mass murder of Ukrainian children, if they had rampaged through a city ripping down Ukrainian flags, if they were chanting "death to Ukrainians," if they violently attacked residents of that city, if they then suffered violence, how would the media frame it? You know the answer to that question.
Yeah, straight up. Yet again, the intentional pairing between anti-Zionism and anti-Semitism rears its ugly head and actually endangers Jews. Being told that Zionists expressing violent Zionism internationally is actually specifically anti-Semitism increases the chances of the overall Jewish diaspora, such as myself, continuing to be targeted because of Israel's reputation in the world. Yeah, but that is beneficial for the interests of Zionists, because if the underlying unexamined anti-Semitic tendencies of Western nations is brought to the forefront, okay, or even heightened, or even cynically people say that it's happening when it's not, even though it is, right? That creates an unsafe place for Jews that are not living in Israel. That reconfirms the primary function of Israel. Without Israel, there's no safe space for Jews. You have to come to Israel to be safe. That's it. That's why I'm saying it's like a self-serving psychopathic thing that ultra Zionists do on a general basis. I spoke with Jews in Amsterdam. Were Jews attacked in the streets? Yes, but those Jews were also violent hooligans, one told me. This is from Forward magazine, dude. And then another article. How bad is anti-Semitism in Europe? Amsterdam pogrom following rising hostility. How the Amsterdam pogrom is and isn't like Europe in the 1930s. Anti-Semitic hit and run squads. Amsterdam temporarily bans demonstrations after Israeli soccer fans attacked by street mobs. It's like it is a perfect story for Americans who also don't know how football hooligans operate, right? So in their minds, they're like, oh, wow, this is like very out of place. And if you knew anything about hooligans, if you knew anything about how football hooligans operate, you'd be like, this is the most normal story of all time. What are you talking about? Like, it's ridiculous. Why are these not held accountable for reminding these articles with false claims without doing any sort of investigation? First of all, I think you need to understand something. They're writing it like on purpose. There's a deliberate reason why they're writing it like that. Maybe some journalists don't want to read too much into it and they just like are lazy. But for many others, this is like very deliberate. What, you think like Drew Pavlov or whatever the clipped me out of context on accident? No, he just like very clearly and very deliberately wants to smear me as an anti-Semite when everybody knows that that is not the case. These guys are ginormous pieces of shit. Okay. Also, it doesn't matter. That's the other thing. It does not matter. Their lies do not matter. Anyway, I'll get back to the pogrom story after I talk to Osita Noanevu, who is joining me now. Hello. Hello, hello,
Hey.
hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
What's up, Osita? Do you have your camera on or no?
Let me see if I can spawn. Yep. What's up?
Perfect. Is still loading. Oh, boom. There it is.
There we go.
Okay.
How's it going?
It's going all right. It's just going, you know? It is
It's
what
just
it
going.
is. Osita, thank you so much for coming. We are going to be doing the real autopsy of a failed campaign here today on the broadcast. I earlier had Ested Herndon on to talk about, you know, some